You know, I sadly just realized it is currently impossible for me to punch Oscar Sharktail in the face. I did rectify that. Yeah, so I did rosters in the past. Here's one for Dreamworks now that people actually care about them as a company. So like usual, 50 characters, but I usually have a rule of up to 3 per series. The problem is that it doesn't really work for Dreamworks, since they don't have many franchises. And ones they do have vary from being relatively unimportant and don't need multiple characters to ones that require like half the entire roster. So I'm just gonna say, frick it. No limits. I did manage to include almost every Dreamworks film though, besides Prince of Egypt. Listen, I love that film, it's top 3 Dreamworks films, but I still think they're like God himself on the battlefield, you know? There's a reason this film isn't brought up by the studio that often, so I feel like it's best to exclude it. Oh, I should also admit that I don't know if I have the full rights to the Armin films, so I'm not going to include those. I'm sorry for all you Gromit stands, Gromit mugs in the chat, no Flusterway or all the Gromit. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Besides that, anything goes. I even found a way to sneak in some of the TV shows. And like normal, I'm basing this off of Smash's gameplay, as what I usually do, and a platform fighter is usually what these types of games go for. Let's make the third best fighting game, see if we can see what they have in common. This is what if Dreamworks had a fighting game roster. Okay, so I'm gonna go in order of release, but like, I gotta start with Shrek. They got 4 characters you have to add. It helps that, again, there is a Shrek fighting game based all around. Shrek has the most physical attacks, and also farting, so we gotta get started on that. There's gonna be a lot of those. Donkey could maybe include the Dronkies from special abilities, like having a fireball or a recovery. Also, if he wins the match, it just cuts to him having a random 3-minute dance party with all characters in the game. This is unskippable, and happens every time he wins. Fiona in the films has a better grasp on fighting techniques, which are translated here, unlike Shrek, who just throws around attacks randomly. Also have a move where she sings and a bird explodes. Finally, Puss is fast, has a sword. He's just Meta Knight, down this fast action. After the obvious ones, I think we need at least one villain from the main Shrek series, and while I nearly went with Farquaad, he's like actually nothing to work with, so here's Fairy Godmother. Magic. I don't gotta explain magic. Also, I know she flies, but imagine it'd be like Rosalina, where she stands motionless and floats while moving. Also, obviously, this would be an ult. And before we end Shrek off, I debated on if the Wolf and Jack Horner should be here, since they feel more fitting as like bosses or assists, but like, they're the most iconic and popular Dreamworks characters since like Toothless, honestly. Let's throw him in. Wolf has his 2 sickles and the ability to create fire. Imagine him be a rushdown fighter that can do great damage when he gets to you. Kind of struggles when you're far away. Jack has a few physical attacks, but he got so many weird and wacky things he could just pull out. It'd be funny and I would laugh and I would unironically meme him, mostly because my friend hates Big Jack Horner, so I would irritate them by becoming the #1 Jack Horner man. The true Jacker. Moving from non-Shrek characters, Ants is the first Dreamworks film, and it brings up in a problem many characters have. That being, he's small.
I am small.
He's literally an ant. Not even the best from 1998, but you know what? Frick it. Just make him human-sized. He's a soldier, he can fight, he can do ant stuff. Road to El Dorado has gotten a massive boost in popularity recently. So yeah, Tulio Miguel. I don't think they need to be a dual fighter, they give them palette swaps. They have swords and horses. A natural combination. But also, yeah, I know that meme's not the actual reason this film got attention. Remove Shell, and this film will be as popular as I am. And I need to beg my own parents to watch these. I don't know what she could do, but I do know you can have a fighting game about a woman that'll plague my Twitter feed. You're the freaking worst, Glue. Forget riding a horse. Ever wanted to be a horse? If I asked this a decade ago, I'd get a ton of yeses. What he can do? No idea. But PETA, the horse, is here. The next film is Sinbad, and the obvious thing is to have a main character. But no one cares about him, it's all about Eris. Not the cool one though. While she most certainly works better as a boss, if you're including the film, she's a good choice, as she has the various powers like throwing stars or various summons, and wouldn't be too weird for her to be human-sized. Now, I don't know if you can make a fish a fighter, especially when the whole film is about how weak he is, but Your Honor, if the sharks don't kill him, I will. After that, Madagascar is really hard to nail down. They have so many big characters that could be used, but here's how I'm going to optimize it. Alex is obviously here. He's got lion stuff like teeth and claws, but he can also do some stuff from the circus. Of the other 3, I could argue any of them, and I could revive a dead meme, but like, Gloria is a clear answer here. I made a Spice Hippos and all they stand for, but we just need a big old heavyweight, and she works perfectly. After that, just put all the penguins together as one. You have Kowalski's weapons from the show, all their various martial arts abilities, and a freaking nuke. They're small enough where it's fine if they're all together. King Julian comes after. I assume most of the attacks will be dances. You also have him kick Mort at people, it's funny, and he deserves abuse for being a 50-year-old elder god who craves destruction and feats. The fact that there exists Madagascar lore will always horrify me. Okay, every roster I make has one "This is just for me" pick, and I'm gonna cast this one in right now. You'll never guess who it is. So remember that old Penguin cartoon where the main villain is an evil dolphin? Yeah, I'm picking the funny dolphin Dr. Blowhole. He's got a laser. His exact location can be exaggerated by him yelling and being an airbox. His mind jacker can be used to temporarily disable a movement on opponents. Guys, please let me just have this one funny dolphin. This funny dolphin is my childhood. I had an awful childhood. Okay, so I'm gonna put him Over the Hedge. Not the film, it's based. But who to use to rep it? I guess I'll include RJ. He is the main character after all. And he's got some stuff to be used, like the grabby hand thing. The soda rocket can be used as recovery. Maybe Hammy can be in there somewhere, mostly for his time freezing ability. But the problem again is his height. I really don't know how to scale him. Maybe around Pichu or Game & Watch's height. If only there was a human-sized character in this film who would have a unique moveset and is more popular than anyone else in it. Verminator bait! Yeah, I had to do it. With all those traps and gizmos he's got, he could be a very fun trap-based character. Death would know the fear of God when he gets verminated by the Depulter Turbo. Okay, Speedy was another one that left me puzzled. It's another small character, and while most other small characters can be excused, since they're not usually shown with larger characters, the whole thing with B-Movie is that it's a small bee next to a large human. So, how can I possibly fix this? What is the one perfect angel that can solve my problems? Okay, so I really like Multiverse's take on Tom and Jerry, where they're constantly fighting each other, but end up holding their opponents, and I could see that here. Most attacks can swing wildly with newspaper or bug spray or poo water or berry, but it misses. It's funny. They could also sting someone or something. After that, Kung Fu Panda has just so many characters, all of whom are martial art masters, with a few special extra skills. Who has the most random nonsense like his Dragged Warrior form, where he Hadouken's dragons, or the hero's chi, more obviously, the Wushy Finger Hold as his final move. Shifu in the show, at least, proves that he has a ton of stuff he knows that I could name off, but no one's seen the show, so it wouldn't make sense to any of them. Skadoosh. Tigress could maybe throw in some of the other 5 members for attacks, but in general, I could see her as a good, fast, and hard-hitting character. As for the villains, all 3 are here. Tai Lung can do that cool thing with arrows, and the cool thing with the bridge, and the cool thing with the leg, and the cool thing with the guy who was basically molded into greatness, only got rejected for no reason, gets very soul destroyed. Shin is my favorite Dreamworks villain, so I'm glad I can squeeze him in. His feathers grant him a really fun way of fighting, with both shooting them and just swinging it around. Plus he has a sword and a cannon. Ending it off with Kai, I don't know how he can work, being built like a refrigerator, but he can figure out his blades and his chi stealing abilities could be used somehow. I'm not sure. I'm a game developer. I really like giant characters in games, and that alone would make Dynamica special. Also, the car skates are like the coolest thing ever. Bob, though, is the character that really pushed, and his gooey gooness could be fun. So this scene is still the funniest thing to me, so I have to put this in somewhere. Seth Rogen should be in all fighting games. That leaves us with How to Train Your Dragon, which leads me to a huge problem. Hiccup and Toothless be separate or together? For this, I'll say they're separate. But if you want to combine them, basically combine my ideas for them, and add either Acid or Stoic for the second rep. Hiccup has a fire sword, which can also explode. Toothless, well, he's a dragon, he can fly and breathe fire. Obviously we have to include Megamind after the massive explosion popularity he got. He's got a ton of gadgets to work with, along with the brain bots. I'm not sure how to include the dehydration gun, seeing as it just cubes people, but it does need to be there. Touching is much easier though. Flight, heat vision, all the most basic boring powers you can think of. And hey, since Metro Man has the same powers, make him an alternate costume or something. Jack Frost is up next. We definitely need some more ice users. We have some in fighting games, but they're all drastically underused compared to fire users. Also, Pitch Black could be cool with all the shadow people he uses and stuff like that. Then there's Grog Mode! That's right, I freaking love Grog! Grog Mode! Grog! I gotta watch The Cruise in theaters on March 22nd, 2013. No one actually cares about this movie. Turbo. How do I make Turbo work? Like, the whole thing is he's just a snail that can move fast. Do I just make it like he's just a giant freaking snail? Okay. Hear me out. He's by far the fastest character in this game. He's by far the smallest, around the size of like the Fletch Gender Assist, and he can rack up damage super quickly with all his attacks. But, and it's a big but, he's got 1 hit point. Any attack that does knockback instantly kills him. It's what he would have wanted. Peabody and Sherman kind of stumped me. Being a duo fighter does instinctively make them interesting, but they really aren't fighters, so drop your deep emotional Peabody and Sherman movesets in the comments. O is canonically the strongest character in Dreamworks, due to having the power of Bazinga behind him, so that should be enough to warrant him being here. So honestly, I don't think the trolls scaled up are that big of a problem compared to some of the other characters. They are larger next to some of the characters in the new logo, so it's probably fine here. Poppy has hair powers and sing, cool, use that. Could probably use some of the other trolls as alt costumes too. There's this like 3 Boss Baby shows and 2 films. They can definitely piece together a moveset. Just let us do what Nick All-Stars didn't, and that'll be murder a baby. I love murdering babies. It's great to kill children. Please stop me. Captain Underpants can shoot underwear and it'll be really funny. Also just have an alt be Principal Crumb, yet he still use all his powers. It would also be really funny. Abominable is a pretty forgettable film, but Everest is pretty cool. Gosh freaking dang, that's an ice putt! And he's got some fun abilities like ice breath and being able to bend the environment, which I could see as like creating basically a wall in front of him or stretching parts of the stage to be a ledge. Also being a giant freaking gorilla thing helps. This wolf has the power of being a wolf, like having teeth and claws, and the ability of being 90% of furry porn. Plus it would be cool to call in some of the other members of the bad guys. Snake could be a tether like Lucas's snake, or just assisting grabs, and he could just like yeet piranha, that'd be funny. Maybe have him drive the van too. Finally, Ruby Gilman. Her film might have bombed, so I can't justify a second character, but she's got quite a lot to work with. Plus either as the final move, or some alternate form, she can become the big Kraken. And that's it, we're done with the film characters. I'm free guys, I can finally gill myself! Wait, why is there so much time left? So yeah, I had some space left over, and I thought it would be fun to give some of the shows they produced a spotlight. The first of those would be Voltron with Keith. I've never seen this show, and from what I've learned, merely speaking its name causes violence, so I'm gonna move on from now. After that is She-Ra. I really love this show, so I'm super glad to throw her in. You know what she can do, she's got a sword, I love swords, also magic, I don't love magic, not after the incident. And you know, She-Ra is super popular, so I'm throwing Catcher too. You must keep them together, they cannot be separated. She'd be a fast fighter with attacks with her claws, and probably have an attack like that one Diddy Kong attack where she lashes on people. I really like the She-Ra show. I'm gonna make DLC just so I can have Enchapta, my beloved. Comment Galapagos Tortoise if you want me to do a Netflix animation fighting game roster. The final show, not the final character, Kipo never hit the same height as his predecessors, but I did quite enjoy it. Kipo herself turned her arms into leopard arms to increase her strength, and can turn full furry as well. So my final pick isn't from a movie or a show, but it is arguably the most iconic character on this list. The Dreamworks logo is one of the most iconic parts about them, and the Man in the Moon, who I shall dub Moon Boy, I think should be in here. I think you can scale him down, or just not be the actual moon size. Just look how big he is in the new logo. Alongside his trusty fishing rod, his attacks can be references to other Dreamworks films and styles. He's also canonically been murdered by both the Penguins and Barry, so he fits in perfectly. And once again, I found a way to disappoint you all with a game that'll never exist. I'm pretty proud of this one. For all the films by the Prince of Egypt, because it's too close to religion, and also the Aardman films, because I don't think they have the rights to those. Got both all the big faces and some more obscure ones, including some villains, which these types of games rarely use. Dr. Blowhole. Yeah, it's pretty epic. As characters I didn't include, I mentioned most of them, but again, Farquaad isn't here because he's not really a fighter. Marty and Melman lost a Gloria, since she's more of a fighter, and we need more females. Dubrows really should have been playable as a blowhole, but shut up. Minion is cool, but I feel like Titan is more well known. And again, Stoic or Astrid can be subbed in over Toothless if you want to combine them in Hiccup. Oh, and I also tend to have a slightly more conservative roster in the end. Here's who I'd cut. Granted, this is still super generous, since most platform fighters starting off have around 20 characters. But let me dream. The show's characters were pretty easy removals, because they were kind of high in the sky ideas, and I still kept one character per film, besides Erish, because honestly she works far better as a boss. Same with Death and Jack. Also, if you combine Hiccup and Toothless, whoever the second character for it would be still in the roster. Why? Why do you do it? Why do you bring all this suffering? Why?
Just kidding!
Well, you know what they say. Can't bake a pie without losing a dozen men.